Dogworks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dogworks. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company, this is the Dog Driver Show. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert Forto and Kourosh Partow.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Robert and I'm here with my co-host KP and we are the Dog Driver Show. Be sure to check us out on social media by searching Dogworks Radio. Today we have a guest calling in from Germany. KP, who do we have?
Today we have a pleasure of having Alexandra Kathan with us. Super competitive team in limited and also stage race. She's from Bavaria. I've been following her results and her team on social media for Norway Trail and also limited class. She's been in the sled dog sport for a while, and so she has tons of experience in competitive racing all around Europe, and it would be really fun to listen to her stories and to her experience with the sled dogs. Alexandra, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the sled dog sport and what are you about?
Yes, thanks for having me. It's a great honor for me, and I'm really nervous, so please be a little patient with me. There was this guy in our village. He was actually one of the first ever in Germany who got in touch with sled dogs and imported dogs from Alaska. And I was training with him, and when I was like 12 years old, I guess, he put me onto a sled. And when I was 14, I did the first race in Forto class. I think I made it until the first corner before I crashed and was tracked, but I guess every musher has to make this kind of experience. And yeah, when I finished school, I was invited from Hans Rietz and his wife to Canada, and we did all these Mama We Talk races. We ran 2 6 and 2 10-dog class teams every weekend. And then we finally made it up to Alaska, where Hans ran the ONAC. And it was the first time I saw Egil and his dogs live, and I was completely thrilled and fell in love with the type of dogs. And I knew from the moment that that's the kind of dogs I wanted to have in the future.
When was that, Alexandra, when you were in Alaska?
I think it was 2002, so I'm getting old.
Yeah. Did you start with dogs from the Scandinavian background?
You mean when I was over there?
When you start to get your own dogs in Germany?
In Germany, yeah. When I saw Egil in Alaska, I contacted him afterwards, and he was very supportive and very eager to help a young musher, and he offered me a great dog, bred to one of his best males, but I actually rejected the offer because when I was like 15, I think I already ordered the ONAC pedigrees and got them sent to Germany. And by the time I figured that when Egil was breeding, he always used dogs from his Holland, like Mike or the sisters, bred with the Laban dogs. And that was what I also wanted to have. And Egil was discussing this back and forth, and after some time he really offered me Tootsie. She was a Mike half-sister from Holland and famous sailor, and I got her bred with Odin, the Lamson, and this was like a jackpot for me. It really was. She had 10 puppies, 5 females and 5 males, and it was a great asset for the future, and I really had lots of fun, long time with these dogs.
And the dogs that you are racing right now, Alexandra, are they the descendant and from the same line as those, or you imported different lines into your kennel?
We surely did in the past years mix with some things that worked over here as well, like dogs from Tom Andres and Heine Winter, but basically they all go back to the same. I think we all kind of have the same dogs, right?
Okay. And you raced, as I mentioned, in the limited class also. How did you transition from limited to stage stop, like Norway Trail?
I had for a long time, I think I had a pretty competitive 8 class team, and I got a little frustrated by the quality of the races we had over there, and like World Championships or European Championships, and I felt that I had to do something different. And then I tried Alpen Trail, and I tried to train the dogs longer, and I really, even if I was involved in sprint racing all the time, I always bred towards like open class dogs, or dogs from Egil or Marc Permetier or Klaus Stafflinger, and it really wasn't as difficult as I thought, because I figured pretty soon that my best sprint racing dogs were also the best dogs on the longer distance. Like a good dog is a good dog. Yeah.
Definitely. I talked to many of the competitors racing the mid-distance style races like Alpen Trail or Norway Trail or Grand Odyssey. And they are telling me, or I'm learning, that it takes a little bit of different type of dog to be very competitive in those races which are really hilly and in the mountains. Is that something you noticed also?
I can't. For me, it wasn't that much of a difference, because after my first Alpen Trail, I think it was 2 or maybe 3 weeks later in 2018, I ran the European Championship in 8-dog sprint again, and I ended up in second place. And it was exactly the same dogs that I ran on Alpen Trail.
And how do you prepare for Alpen Trail living in Bavaria with the conditions being completely different than in Norway?
We have this little village in the Alps where pretty much everyone is training on a higher sea level, and it's really hilly, and people like Heine or Tom used to say when your dogs run 30 kilometers there or 25 kilometers there, they can also run 40 at Norway Trail. And until I went to Norway Trail, I never ever run 40 kilometers with my dog, and I was pretty impressed by the distance. And of course there is a lot of air to the top, but they ran 46 kilometers, and we made it home, even if it was a long run.
Do you and the rest of the mushers in your area, do you all share the same training trails, or you each have your own individual training trails?
I can't train with the sled at home at all. So I usually either I go to Italy to train there in the Alps, or go to Sweden to train. And of course, when I go there over Christmas, there's a point when I come back in January where it usually rains here in Germany, and sometimes or most times I have to go back to the ATV. So this is not perfect, but you have to take what you're able to get, right?
So do you go to a training camp so you can get on a sled then every Christmas or every New Year?
Yeah, I usually try to be not at home during Christmas and try to be in Sweden for like three weeks of running the dogs on snow and with the sled. Yeah. So
Alexandra, transitioning from limited class to to Norway Trail. Tell me how you prepare your dog team, how in your distances and your intervals for going from 4 miles to 6 or 10 or whatever.
I'm lucky that I can free run my dogs during the summer or early autumn. I have I can go biking with my race team. I have them all loose running, and I run them maybe 20 kilometers loose running on the bike. And I usually start with the ATV beginning of October, late September, so pretty late. And then I can quickly go up to 14 kilometers, and that's the maximum I do before I go on the sled. And then I usually start with 18, 19 kilometers, and it's a little bit. I start with 19, then I do maybe 25, then sometimes I go back to 14, and I always want them to be motivated and going home strong, and try to keep them happy and motivated and focused.
So you don't train as long as the distances that you're racing, is that right?
Yeah. It would be nice for my own mind if I could go that long, then I would probably be a little bit cooler, because I always think dogs maybe can't do it, but I think they can.
That is so. This year with the COVID situation and some of the races being canceled, what are you planning to do? What is your schedule?
I think today they also canceled the last races in Sweden, so it looks like there's no races at all here in Europe. So I keep training the dogs and try to have fun with them, and I still want to go to Sweden if this is possible and run them on snow. I try to be happy without races anyways.
Yeah, I was talking to another friend who has a large dog team also, and to keep the motivation and just training like we are planning to race, even if you are not. It's crazy. Keep the motivation going. How many dogs do you have right now in your kennel, Alexandra?
I'm having 15 race dogs, an old one, and 2 puppies. So I always try to have quality instead of quantity, because with the free running I do, it makes it easier not to have too many dogs.
How difficult it is to have a, fairly large kennel, 16 or 17, it's fairly large, in Europe. How difficult is it?
How difficult? Well, I think if the dogs listen well and they are well educated, then it's not so difficult. Of course, training here is probably a little difficult, but the people are positive towards me and towards the dogs, for sure. Yeah.
So do you have neighbors, or no, you live in a remote area?
I do have neighbors. I don't see them, but they surely hear me or the dogs.
They don't see you, but they hear you.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners, we have listeners from all around the world, some places that I never thought we would. I mean, from China and Indonesia and India, everywhere. Tell us how far do you have to go to attend some of the races that you go to?
Well, if I go to Norway Trail, it's 800 kilometers to the ferry, and then another 1,000 maybe. But there's also, living in the south of Germany means it's close to the Alps, and it's close to Austria, and pretty close to Italy. So to the start of Alpen Trail, I maybe have to go 3 hours, which is not far away from me. So I'm in a pretty good spot. Yeah.
Is it difficult to take the dogs to Norway because of the rabies and vaccination, or is something fairly easy now?
Well, I think compared to other countries, our dogs are vaccinated pretty well anyway. So, and we have to close borders all the time if you go, like I said, Italy or Sweden or whenever. So they are all vaccinated against rabies. They are all chipped, and they all have parvo and whatever else you can get. They need to have. Yeah.
We interview a lot of drivers from all around the world. It seems like Germany, there's a pocket of sled dog drivers in this country. How do you explain that we have so much more dog drivers and open drivers in Germany than, let's say, Italy or Austria or France or Belgium, for example?
Well, I really don't know. I think we have a pretty there's a friendship between most of them, and we're having really good time. Especially what was especially interesting to see for me is how people help each other, and the whole harmony on like Alpen Trail is very special. And I think, there's probably friendship over competition. Well, you can't earn any money here, so maybe that's also a reason. And I think it's really important for people to come together and also have this. Maybe also have a party in the evening and these kind of things. Maybe this is a reason for many people to stick with the dogs as well.
Lots of the people I've talked to in the last almost 2 years, drivers, they have this vision of coming and racing in Alaska if they're having a bigger team, an open team, or even a limited team. You have been in Alaska and you've seen ONAC, and what is your thought? What are your thoughts about coming here and racing your team here potentially?
Of course, this is the dream of everybody, but I think it became really difficult, and it's so expensive, and I don't think that this is a goal. Yeah, it's a dream, but not really a goal for me that I think I could come true. Yeah.
And seeing the style of trails that we have in North America, Canada, Alaska, and the style of trails that you have in Germany or even in the Alps, what do you think is the main difference other than hills, of course?
I think we have to deal with less good trails than you're probably used to. We often have soft trails and really soft trails if you come to the more to the other side, and when we look towards you guys and to Alaska, we always feel you have the perfect conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alexandra, I have a couple of questions, and I'm going to stick with this travel concept that we've been talking about for the last few minutes. And I'm always intrigued by this, especially when we talk to folks in Europe who travel over many miles to get to races or training. You guys can literally go from one country to several countries in a day's travel. So if if you're in Germany, you could, make it to Italy in a day or so. When you stop at the borders, up here, going from Alaska to Canada, we do our border crossing, and we may or may not have to take all of the dogs out of the truck and show all of our paperwork and all that. Can you tell our listeners about that process when you're traveling through several countries to get from one trip to another, how difficult that is, and what do people say to you at the border crossings, whether it's the border patrol or whatever you call them, or visitors that are coming and going?
Well, traveling within Europe is pretty easy, actually. So I'm living maybe less than 1 hour away from the Austrian border, and there's times where we don't get controlled at all. Same with Italy, and of course, some days they take you out, and then they want to see all the paperwork, so the vaccination papers, and of course then they also want to see the dogs. But I don't remember a situation where I had to take the dogs out of the boxes. We have a lot of illegal dog breeding in the eastern part of Europe, so we are getting controlled if we breed dogs and sell puppies or whatever. So, but if I open my dog trailer, they usually say, "Oh, it's nice and it smells good, so yeah, take care."
So it's pretty easy then. Do the border control officers, do they know about mushing? Are they familiar, or is this kind of a new concept to them, since most people don't travel down the road with 10 or 15 dogs at a time?
I think they kind of know what we are doing, and we beside the whole paperwork for the vaccinations, we also need to have a paper if we travel with more than 5 dogs per person. And you get an extra, no, I don't know how to say in English. You get a special permission if you travel for racing, for racing or training. And in order to get this, we usually have a paper from our federation which says we are, for example, member of the national team, and therefore we are traveling. And when they see the paper, then usually they say, "Okay, good luck."
Right. Very good. All right, Alexandra, I have one more question. It's the one I ask all of our guests. If you've listened to our show, you know what it is, and that is, if a person's just getting involved in the sport and they're looking to you for advice, and you can offer them one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
One piece. I think there's no shortcut to success, and always breed the best with the best.
Hey, that's good advice for sure. Thank you very much. KP, anything else for Alexandra before we go?
Alexandra, thank you for spending the last 30 minutes with us. I wanted to ask you if you want to add, thank or mention any of your sponsors. It's time now.
I want to thank Nonstop Dogwear, which is a great equipment for me, and the great team and the great family. And also I want to thank Happy Dog for outstanding good nutrition for my dogs. Yeah, thanks for that.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much for being with us. I wanted to wish you the best of luck, at least training, if we are not racing this year. And keep in touch with us, and hopefully we'll see you on the runners at competitions very, very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. On behalf of our guest and my co-host KP, this is Robert for the Dog Driver Show. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
From First Paw Media, this is the Dog Driver Show. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you can see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert Forto and Kourosh Partow. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.